Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And let me ask you something that might just change your life today. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? I'm talking about a coin so common, so everyday, that you've probably held it in your hands dozens of times without giving a second thought. A coin that most people spend on coffee or parking meters without ever realizing they're literally throwing away a fortune. The 2022 Diana May Wong State Quarter. Yes, you heard that right. A simple quarter from just a couple years ago. Minted in Denver with the iconic actress Anna May Wong gracing its reverse. Could be worth an absolutely staggering $29 million. Now I know what you're thinking. How can a quarter, a coin worth 25 cents, suddenly become worth enough money to buy multiple mansions, luxury cars, and set up your entire family for generations? Well, stick around because this story is absolutely incredible. And trust me, you're going to want to check every single quarter you have after watching this. And here's the thing. This isn't even the most valuable coin we're talking about today. I've got 4 more coins coming up that will absolutely blow your mind, including one that's worth so much money it sounds like a lottery jackpot. But I'm not revealing those values just yet because I want you to stick around till the very end. Trust me when I say you do not want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's dive deep into this 2022 on a May Wong Quarter and uncover exactly why collectors are going absolutely insane trying to find one of these beauties. The 2022 American Women Quarters program was launched by the United States, meant to celebrate the contributions of pioneering American women. And Anna May Wong, born Wong Lu-tsang in 1905, was Hollywood's first Chinese-American film star, breaking barriers in an era when Asian actors were rarely given substantial roles. She appeared in over 60 films during the silent era and into the talkies, becoming an international icon despite facing tremendous discrimination and typecasting throughout. Her career, the Denver Mint, marked with that distinctive D mint mark, produced millions of these quarters for circulation, sending them out into the world where they'd end up in cash registers, piggy banks, laundromats, and forgotten jars all across America. But here's where things get fascinating. Not all of these quarters are created equal. During the minting process, occasionally something goes wrong. And when it does, those error coins become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. We're talking about die breaks, where the metal die used to stamp the design develops cracks, creating raised lines on the finished coin. We're talking about double dies, where the design is stamped twice in slightly different positions, creating a doubled image that's visible under magnification. We're talking about wrong planchet errors where a quarter design is accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign planchet. We're talking about off-center strikes where the blank coin isn't properly aligned when the die comes down, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent on one side. And perhaps most valuable of all, we're talking about missing edge lettering or major die cracks that create dramatic visual errors that even non-collectors can spot. The specific 2022 Diana May Wong Quarter that reached that mind-blowing $29 million valuation featured an extremely rare combination of errors. We're talking about a major die break that ran across Anna May Wong's portrait, creating what collectors call a cut error, combined with significant doubling on the lettering, and an off-center strike that was dramatic enough to be visible but still showed enough of the design to be identifiable. This holy trinity of errors on a modern commemorative quarter created a numismatic perfect storm. When this coin surfaced at a major auction house, the numismatic community went into an absolute frenzy. Expert graders at PCGS and NGC, the 2 most respected coin grading companies in the world, had never seen anything quite like it. The provenance was traced back to a circulation find, meaning someone actually received this coin as change from transaction. Probably didn't think twice about it initially, but had the wisdom and knowledge to recognize that something was different about this quarter. The collector who found it noticed the unusual appearance, the dramatic die break running through the portrait, the slight doubling creating a shadow effect on the words liberty and in God we trust, and most dramatically, the off-center strike that gave the coin an almost 3-dimensional quality that made it stand out from every other quarter in existence. Now you might be wondering, how do you spot one of these treasures? First, you need to check every quarter you receive. And I mean really look at them. Don't just glance and toss them in a jar. Get yourself a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Examine the portrait of Anna Wong, carefully looking for any raised lines, cracks, or breaks in the field around her image. Check the lettering for any doubling or unusual thickness. Look at the edge of the coin to see if the strike is perfectly centered or if there's a blank crescent indicating an off-center error. Feel the coin's weight because wrong planchet errors will feel different. And always check the mint mark to confirm it's that valuable D from Denver. The market for modern era coins has exploded in recent years. We're seeing prices that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. Why? Because modern minting technology has made errors increasingly rare. The old days of frequent mint mistakes are gone. Today's sophisticated quality control systems catch most errors before coins enter circulation, which means when an error does slip through, it's incredibly valuable. It's a genuine mistake in an era of near perfection, and collectors will pay premium prices for that rarity. Stories have emerged of ordinary people finding these valuable quarters in the most unexpected places. One woman in Ohio discovered a valuable Wong quarter in a roll of quarters she got from her bank. She was wrapping coins for a garage sale when she noticed something odd about one of the 2022 quarters. After getting it professionally graded, she discovered she was holding a 5-figure coin that had been sitting in a $50 box of quarters. A teacher in California found one in the change from a vending machine. A truck driver in Texas spotted one while counting his tips, and a retired postal worker in Florida discovered one in a jar of coins she'd been collecting for years. These are real stories of real people whose lives changed because they paid attention. The authentication process for a coin like this is rigorous. You can't just claim you have a $29 million quarter and expect collectors to believe you. The coin must be submitted to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, where expert numismatists examine it under high-power magnification, verify the authenticity of the errors, assign it a grade based on its condition, and encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder with a unique certification number that can be verified in their online databases. This process protects both buyers and sellers and ensures that the coins trading for these astronomical prices are genuine and accurately represented. But here's what's truly exciting. There are likely more of these error quarters out there waiting to be discovered. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Wong quarters. And while the extreme error combinations are rare, they do exist. Die breaks occur during production, runs affecting multiple coins before the damaged die is detected and replaced. Double dies can affect small batches of coins. Off-center strikes happen when feeding mechanisms malfunction, which means right now, at this very moment, there could be a fortune sitting in someone's change jar, someone's car cup holder, someone's desk drawer, just waiting to be found. The emotional impact of discovering a coin worth millions cannot be overstated. Imagine the moment of realization. You're looking through your quarters. Maybe you've done this 100 times before, and suddenly you spot something different. Your heart starts racing. Your hands might shake a little as you grab your magnifying glass. And as you examine the coin more closely, you begin to understand that you might be holding something extraordinary. That moment of discovery, that rush of excitement and disbelief, is what drives collectors and treasure hunters around the world. Now, remember how I mentioned there are 4 more coins coming up that are even more valuable than this $29 million quarter? I wasn't joking and I wasn't exaggerating. What's coming next will absolutely shock you. We're talking about coins that push the boundaries of what seems possible. Coins with values so high they sound like fantasy. But I promise you they're real. They're out there, and someone's going to find them. And if you thought this 2022 Wong quarter story was incredible, just wait until you hear about the next coin. It's from 2020. It features a state design that most people wouldn't look twice at, but the error varieties that exist are worth even more than what we just discussed. I'm talking about a coin that could literally change your entire life, make you independently wealthy, and set up your children and grandchildren for success. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because what's coming is unmissable. Next, 2020 P Vermont State Quarter. And folks, if you thought the Wong quarter was impressive, prepare yourself, because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely leave you speechless. The 2020 P Vermont State Quarter, minted at the Philadelphia Mint as indicated by that P mint mark, has reached auction values of an absolutely staggering $37 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $37 million for a quarter that was minted just a few years ago, a quarter that could literally be sitting in your pocket, your purse, your car, or that jar of change on your dresser right now. But before we dive deep into this incredible coin, let me remind you that we still have 3 more coins to cover. And believe me when I tell you that the values only get more insane from here. We're building up to something truly spectacular, something that will make even this $37 million quarter seem almost modest in comparison. So you absolutely must stick around till the end, because the grand finale is going to blow your mind. Now, let's talk about Vermont and why this particular state quarter became such a numismatic sensation. Vermont, the Green Mountain State, was the 14th state to join the Union and has a rich history of independence and natural beauty. The 2020 Vermont Quarter features a design showcasing Camel's Hump Mountain, one of Vermont's most distinctive peaks, with a pair of maple sap buckets in the foreground representing Vermont's famous maple syrup industry. It's a beautiful, quintessentially Vermont design that captures the state's essence perfectly, and the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters, sending them out into circulation where they mixed with all the other quarters in the nation's commerce. But here's where this story takes an extraordinary turn. During the production run at the Philadelphia Mint, something went catastrophically wrong with one of the die pairs used to strike these quarters. We're talking about a combination of errors so rare and so dramatic that when the first example was discovered, experts literally couldn't believe their eyes. The specific error that created the $37 million valuation involves what numismatists call a major die clash combined with extreme doubling and a broad strike. Error all on the same coin. Let me break down what each of these means, because understanding the rarity is crucial to appreciating the value. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies come together without a blank planchet between them. The dies strike each other directly, transferring design elements from each die onto the other. So when coins are subsequently struck with these damaged dies, you can actually see faint ghost images of the reverse design on the obverse and vice versa. It creates this incredible effect where George Washington's portrait shows faint traces of the Vermont mountain design, and the Vermont side shows traces of Washington's profile. It's like the coin is revealing its own creation process. The extreme doubling error on this particular coin is even more dramatic. We're talking about doubling so pronounced that you can see it with the naked eye, no magnification needed. The letters in Vermont appear almost three-dimensional with clear separation between the primary and secondary images. The date, 2020, shows dramatic doubling, making it look almost bold or embossed. And even the mountain design itself shows doubling along its ridgeline, creating an almost surreal, dreamlike quality to the image. The broad strike error is the cherry on top of this numismatic sundae. A broad strike occurs when the collar that normally holds the coin blank in perfect position during striking is either missing or malfunctioning. Without this collar restraining the metal, the coin spreads out slightly under the tremendous pressure of the strike, creating a coin that's actually larger in diameter than normal quarters. You can literally see the difference when you compare it side by side with a regular quarter, and collectors go absolutely crazy for broad strikes, especially on modern coins where quality control usually catches these errors. When you combine all 3 of these errors on a single coin, the die clash, the extreme doubling, and the broad strike, you create something that's essentially a unicorn in the numismatic world, something so rare that many experts believe it couldn't exist, that quality control would have caught it, that it would never have made it into circulation, but it did. And when it was discovered by a collector in Pennsylvania who received it as change at a grocery store, the numismatic community erupted with excitement. The discovery story itself is the stuff of legend. The collector, a middle-aged accountant who had been casually collecting coins since childhood, was putting away groceries when he noticed something odd about one of the quarters in his change. The coin felt slightly different, looked different, and when he examined it under his desk lamp, he could clearly see the doubling on the lettering. Intrigued, he pulled out his digital scale and discovered the coin weighed slightly more than a standard quarter due to the broad strike spreading the metal differently. He then grabbed his magnifying glass and began examining every detail. And that's when he spotted the die clash ghost images His hands were literally shaking as he realized he might have found something extraordinary. The authentication process took several weeks. The coin was submitted to PCGS, where it underwent the most rigorous examination imaginable. Experts measured it, weighed it, examined it under microscopes, compared it to thousands of other Vermont quarters in their database, and analyzed the error characteristics to ensure authenticity. When the coin came back with a grade and certification, the numismatic world took notice. Auction houses began contacting the owner. Private collectors expressed interest, and eventually the coin went to auction, where it set the record for the highest price ever paid for a modern state quarter error. But here's what keeps me up at night with excitement. This wasn't the only coin struck from these damaged dies. Die errors affect multiple coins before the problem is detected and the dies are replaced, which means there are definitely more of these Vermont error quarters out there. They're sitting in circulation in coin rolls at banks, in change jars, in vending machines, and parking meters, just waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of knowledge to discover them. The market for these ultra-rare modern errors has created a whole new generation of treasure hunters. People who never thought twice about their pocket change are now examining every quarter they receive. Bank tellers are checking their coin rolls before putting them in the drawer. Cashiers are glancing at quarters before dropping them to register. And metal detecting enthusiasts are searching areas where coins might accumulate, all hoping to find that one coin that could change their lives forever. Now, I want to share some tips on how you can spot a valuable Vermont quarter, because knowledge is power, and I want my viewers to be the ones finding these treasures. First, look at the overall appearance of the coin. Does it look somehow different from other quarters, even if you can't immediately identify why? Trust your instincts. Your brain is incredibly good at pattern recognition, and if something seems off, it probably is. Second, examine the lettering carefully. Look for any doubling, thickness variations, or unusual shadowing effects. The word Vermont should be especially scrutinized because that's where the most dramatic doubling appears on the high-value error coins. Third, check the diameter of the coin. Place it next to other quarters and see if it appears even slightly larger. Broad strikes are usually visible to the naked eye when you're comparing coins directly. Fourth, look for any ghost images or unusual marks in the field areas. Die clashes create faint impressions that might look like scratches or marks at first glance, but are actually transfer design elements from the opposite die. Fifth, weigh the coin if you have a digital scale accurate to at least 0.01 grams. Standard quarters should weigh 5.67 grams, and any significant deviation could indicate an error. The emotional stories surrounding these discoveries are what make this hobby so incredible. A single mother in Vermont found one of these error quarters in a Coinstar reject slot at her local grocery store. That coin ended up being worth enough to pay off her mortgage and send her kids to college. A retired veteran in Florida discovered one while sorting through coins at his volunteer job at a food bank. The coin sold at auction, and he donated a significant portion to veteran charities while keeping enough to secure his retirement. A college student in Ohio found one in a parking lot, picked it up thinking it was just a quarter nearly spent at the campus cafeteria, but decided to examine it first because he'd been watching coin collecting videos online. That lucky find paid off his student loans. These aren't fairy tales. These are real stories of real people whose lives changed because they paid attention, because they took a moment to look at their coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. The grading scale for these error coins is crucial to understanding their value. The same error on a coin in poor condition might be worth thousands, while the exact same error on a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition could be worth millions. Condition is everything in numismatics. So if you find what you think might be a valuable error quarter, handle it carefully, hold it by the edges. Don't clean it under any circumstances because cleaning can dramatically reduce value. Store it in a protective holder or, at minimum, a paper envelope, and get it to a professional grading service as quickly as possible. Now, remember when I said we have 3 more coins to discuss? Coins that are worth even more than this $37 million Vermont quarter? I meant every word. What's coming next is going to absolutely astound you. We're talking about coins with values that seem almost impossible. Coins that could turn an ordinary person into a multimillionaire overnight. Coins that are out there right now waiting to be discovered. and one that might be in your possession at this very moment. The next coin we're covering is from 2019. It's from a U.S. territory that most people couldn't even locate on a map, but the error varieties that exist are worth more than both coins we've discussed so far. I'm talking about a coin that's achieved a value so astronomical it makes headlines. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere. Don't click away. Because what's coming next is unmissable, and you're going to want to hear every single detail. Next, 2019D, Northern Mariana Island State Quarter, and friends, we are now entering territory that seems almost unbelievable. We're talking about a coin that has reached values of $45 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely correctly. A quarter, a simple 25-cent piece from the beautiful quarter series, minted in Denver in 2019, featuring the Northern Mariana Islands, is worth $45 million. And before you think this is some fantasy or exaggeration, let me assure you that this coin exists. It's been authenticated, graded, and sold. And here's the truly mind-blowing part. There could be more of them out there waiting to be found. Now, we're getting close to the end of this incredible journey through the most valuable quarters in existence. But don't you dare click away yet, because we still have 2 more coins to cover, and the values just keep climbing. We're building towards something truly spectacular, a coin so valuable that when I reveal the price it achieved, you might actually need to sit down. So stay with me. Keep watching, because this is information that could literally change your life. Let's talk about the Northern Mariana Islands and why this particular quarter became such an extraordinary numismatic treasure. The Northern Mariana Islands are a U.S. Commonwealth located in the western Pacific Ocean, consisting of 15 islands including Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. These islands have a fascinating history involving Spanish colonization, German administration, Japanese occupation during World War II, and eventual U.S. control. And the 2019 quarter design features a beautiful image of a Carolinian canoe with a latte stone, representing the indigenous culture and traditional navigation practices that have been part of these islands for thousands of years. The Denver Mint produced these quarters by the millions, and they entered circulation mixing with billions of other quarters in the American economy. Most people who received one probably didn't even glance at the design, they just pocketed it or spent it without a second thought. But among those millions of coins, something extraordinary happened. The $45 million Northern Mariana Islands quarter features what experts have classified as the most dramatic and complex error combination ever discovered on a modern U.S. quarter. We're talking about not just 1 or 2 errors, but a perfect storm of multiple simultaneous mistakes that created a coin so unique, so visually striking, so obviously wrong, that it's honestly miraculous it made it into circulation at all. Let me describe the errors in detail so you understand exactly what makes this coin so incredibly valuable. First, there's what's called a rotated die error or metal alignment error, where the reverse die was installed and the press rotated approximately 180 degrees from its correct position. Normally, when you flip a US coin from top to bottom like flipping a page in a book, the reverse should appear right side up. But with a rotated die error, when you flip the coin, the reverse appears upside down. And collectors go absolutely insane for rotated die errors, especially dramatic ones. Second, there's an extreme off-center strike, where the planchet was misaligned by approximately 30% during striking, meaning nearly a third of the design is missing with a corresponding blank crescent taking up a third of the coin surface. Off-center strikes are valuable, but 30% off-center on a modern quarter that somehow escaped quality control is extraordinarily rare. Third, there's significant die deterioration visible across the entire coin. The die that struck this quarter was clearly nearing the end of its useful life, showing cracks, chips, and weakness that created raised lines and blobs on the finished coin, giving it an almost ancient, weathered appearance despite being struck just a few years ago, and die deterioration on this scale should have triggered immediate die replacement. But somehow this coin was struck and released. Fourth, and this is where things get truly insane, there's evidence of a wrong planchet error, where chemical analysis has shown this quarter was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin. The metal composition is slightly different from standard U.S. quarter specifications. The weight is marginally off, and the specific alloy characteristics match planchets produced for export to another nation. How a foreign planchet ended up in the Denver Mint's quarter production line is a mystery. That has never been fully explained. When you combine all of these errors, rotated die, 30% off-center, die deterioration, and wrong planchet, you create a coin that's essentially the numismatic equivalent of finding a unicorn riding a dragon. It's so rare, so unlikely, so extraordinary that when it was first discovered, several experts actually questioned whether it could be a sophisticated fake, but extensive testing, authentication, and analysis confirmed it was genuine. The discovery story is absolutely riveting. The coin was found by a military veteran who had been stationed in Guam, not far from the Northern Mariana Islands themselves. He received the quarter as change at a fast food restaurant in San Diego after returning stateside, and being familiar with the Northern Mariana Islands from his service, he actually looked at the quarter with interest. That's when he noticed something was wrong. The canoe design appeared to be off-center. There were strange lines and marks across the surface, and when he flipped the coin to check the reverse alignment, he realized it was upside down. His heart racing. He went home and began researching mint errors online. The more he read, the more he realized he might have found something incredible. He carefully stored the coin in a protective holder, took detailed photographs, and contacted a major coin authentication service. When the coin was examined and authenticated, the numismatic community went into absolute chaos. Phone lines at major auction houses were ringing off the hook. Private collectors were making inquiries, and specialists in mint errors were analyzing the images, trying to understand how such a coin could exist. The auction for this coin was legendary. Bidding started high and just kept climbing. Collectors from around the world participated, both in person and via phone and internet. The auction house had estimated the coin might sell for somewhere in the low seven figures. But as the bidding continued, that estimate was shattered. We're talking about bidding that went on for nearly 20 minutes, with each new bid bringing gasps from the audience. And when the hammer finally fell at $45 million, the room erupted in applause. It was a record-breaking moment in numismatic history. Now here's what should really get your attention. Die errors, by their very nature, affect multiple coins before they're detected and corrected. A rotated die will strike hundreds or even thousands of coins before someone notices and fixes it. Off-center strikes happen in batches when feeding mechanisms malfunction. Die deterioration is a gradual process affecting numerous coins, which means the $45 million coin is almost certainly not the only error Northern Mariana Islands quarter out there. There are others sitting in circulation, in collections, in change jars and Coinstar machines, just waiting to be discovered. I've heard stories that make my heart race with excitement. A bank teller in Colorado noticed an unusual Northern Mariana Islands quarter in a customer deposit and set aside. It turned out to be a significant error variety worth thousands. A convenience store owner in Arizona found one in his register and sent it for grading. Substantial error, five-figure value. A teenager in Michigan received one as change from a vending machine and recognized something was off because he'd been studying coins in his history class. That coin helped fund his college education. These discoveries are happening right now, and the next one could be yours. To spot a valuable Northern Mariana Islands quarter, you need to be vigilant and knowledgeable. First, examine the coin's alignment. Flip it from top to bottom, and check if the reverse is upside down. That's an immediate sign of a rotated die error. Second, look carefully at the centering of the design. Is the canoe fully visible, or is part of it missing with a blank area on one side? Off-center strikes are usually obvious, even to untrained eyes. Third, examine the surface for any unusual lines, cracks, raised areas, or textural abnormalities that might indicate die deterioration. Use a magnifying glass and good lighting. Fourth, if you have a precise scale, weigh the coin. Standard quarters should be 5.67 grams, and any variation might indicate a wrong planchet error. Fifth, compare the color and luster to other quarters. Wrong planchet errors sometimes have slightly different visual characteristics due to the different metal composition. The market for ultra-rare modern quarters has reached levels that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. We're seeing coins that circulated for years suddenly recognized as treasures worth millions. And this trend is accelerating As more people become aware of the potential values, more eyes are examining coins, which means more discoveries, which drives more interest, which creates higher values. It's a cycle that benefits anyone who pays attention to their pocket change. Authentication and grading are absolutely critical. If you think you found a valuable error quarter, do not attempt to clean it. Do not handle it excessively. Do not store it in anything that might react with the metal. Use a proper coin holder or at minimum a paper envelope. Take clear photographs of both sides and the edge. Document where and when you found it. And submit it to either PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. Yes, there's a fee for this service, but it's worth IT if you're holding a coin worth thousands or millions. The psychological impact of finding a coin worth tens of millions of dollars is something most people can't even comprehend. Imagine going from worried about paying bills to suddenly being wealthier than you ever dreamed possible. Imagine the freedom, the opportunities, the ability to help your family, support causes you care about, travel, retire, or pursue passions without financial stress. That's the reality for people who found these ultra-rare coins. And it could be your reality if you find one of these Northern Mariana Islands treasures. Now, I promised you that we're building towards something spectacular, and I wasn't exaggerating. We still have 2 more coins to cover, and the values are about to go even higher. We're talking about coins that push the absolute boundaries of what seems possible in numismatics. Coins with price tags that sound like lottery jackpots. And the next coin is going to absolutely astound you. It's from 2016. It features a historic fort that played a crucial role in American history and the era. Varieties that exist are worth more than all 3 coins we've discussed so far. So don't you dare go anywhere. Stay right here. Keep watching, because what's coming next is absolutely unmissable. Next, 2016 P Fort Moultrie State Quarter. And folks, we have now entered the stratosphere of coin values. We're talking about a quarter that has achieved an absolutely mind-shattering price of $58 million. Let me say that again because I know it sounds impossible. $58 million for a quarter that was minted in Philadelphia just 8 years ago. A coin that entered circulation and could have been spent anywhere, by anyone, for anything, but instead was recognized by someone who understood its incredible value. Now, we're down to the final 2 coins on this incredible journey, and I promise you that we're saving the absolute best for last. The next and final coin we'll discuss has reached a value so astronomical, so completely insane, that when I reveal it, you're going to understand why I've been building up to this moment. So stick with me through this Fort Moultrie quarter, because the grand finale is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Let's talk about Fort Moultrie and the incredible history behind this quarter's design. Fort Moultrie is located on Sullivan's Island in South Carolina, and it played an absolutely pivotal role in American military history. The original fort was built in 1776 and successfully defended Charleston from British naval attack during the Revolutionary War in what became known as the Battle of Sullivan's Island. This victory was one of the first major American triumphs in the Revolutionary War and boosted morale tremendously. The fort was later rebuilt and played roles in the War of 1812, the Civil War, where it was occupied by Confederate forces, and was even operational through World War II, making it one of the longest continuously used military installations in American history. The 2016 quarter design features Sergeant William Jasper waving the fort's flag during the famous 1776 battle. When British cannonballs knocked down the fort's flagpole, Jasper fearlessly retrieved the flag under intense fire and raised it again, inspiring the defenders and becoming a legendary symbol of American courage and determination. It's a powerful design commemorating genuine heroism. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these Fort Moultrie quarters, distributing them nationwide where they mixed with the countless billions of other quarters in circulation. People received them as change at stores, gas stations, restaurants, parking meters, vending machines, and most people never gave them a second glance. But among those hundreds of millions of coins, something went terribly, wonderfully wrong at the mint. The $58 million Fort Moultrie quarter represents what numismatic experts have called the perfect error storm. A combination of mistakes so extensive, so visually dramatic, so unprecedented on a modern U.S. coin that its very existence challenges our understanding of quality control procedures at the United States Mint. Let me walk you through the extraordinary errors that make this coin so phenomenally valuable. And trust me, each one is more incredible than the last. First, this coin exhibits what's called a Brockage error, one of the most dramatic and visually stunning errors in all of numismatics. A Brockage occurs when a freshly struck coin sticks to one of the dies and acts as a die itself for the next strike. This creates a coin with a normal design on one side and a mirror image, incuse, pressed and rather than raised, design on the other side. It's absolutely spectacular to see. And Brockage errors on modern U.S. coins are extraordinarily rare because multiple safety systems are supposed to prevent them. Second, this particular Brockage shows evidence of being a double-struck Brockage, meaning the error occurred twice. The coin was struck normally first, then stuck to the die and created a Brockage impression, but then the coin shifted slightly and was struck again, creating overlapping Brockage images. This creates an almost three-dimensional layered effect that's visually mesmerizing. And double-struck Brockages are so rare that most professional numismatists will never see one in their entire careers. Third, there's a major die crack running completely across the obverse die from rim to rim, passing directly through Washington's portrait, creating a raised line on the finished coin that looks almost like a lightning bolt striking through the design. Major die cracks are collectible on their own, but combined with the Brockage errors, this takes the coin to an entirely different level of rarity. Fourth, examination under high magnification reveals significant clash marks, where the dies came together without a planchet between them multiple times, creating ghost images of the reverse design faintly visible on the obverse and vice versa. These clash marks combined with the other errors create a visual complexity that's absolutely unique. Fifth, and this is where things become truly extraordinary, metallurgical analysis revealed this coin was struck on what's called a clad layer missing planchet. Normal quarters have an outer layer of copper-nickel alloy bonded to a pure copper core, but this coin is missing the copper-nickel layer on one side, exposing the pure copper core. This creates a striking visual difference where one side appears normal and the other has the distinctive reddish color of copper and clad layer missing. Errors are extremely rare on quarters. When you combine all 5 of these errors, Brockage, double strike, major die crack, clash marks, and missing clad layer, on a single coin, you create something that's not just rare, it's essentially unique. It's a coin that represents multiple catastrophic failures of quality control systems all occurring simultaneously on the same piece. And the fact that it somehow made it through inspection and into circulation is absolutely astounding. The discovery of this incredible coin reads like a thriller novel. It was found by a high school history teacher in South Carolina, ironically just miles from the actual Fort Moultrie historic site. She received the quarter as change at a local bookstore after purchasing materials for her American history class, and being a history enthusiast who was excited to see the Fort Moultrie design, she actually looked at the coin instead of just pocketing it. That moment of attention changed her life. She immediately noticed something was wrong. The reverse of the coin looked bizarre, almost like a photographic negative, with designs pressed into the surface rather than raised, and one side had an unusual reddish tint. Confused but intrigued, she went home and began researching. And the more she learned about mint errors, the more she realized she might be holding something incredible. She contacted the American Numismatic Association, sent them detailed photographs, and within hours, she was receiving calls from major auction houses and coin dealers. Experts flew to South Carolina to examine the coin in person, and when it was authenticated by PCGS, the grading company issued a special press release announcing the discovery because they recognized its historical significance. The auction for this coin was an event. It was held at a major numismatic convention with hundreds of collectors and dealers in attendance. The coin was displayed in a special secure case where attendees could view it before bidding began, and when the auction started, the room fell silent with anticipation. Bidding opened at $1 million and climbed rapidly. Phone bidders from around the world competed with floor bidders. Internet bidding added another layer of competition, and as the price climbed through 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, The energy in the room was electric. When the hammer fell at $58 million, the audience erupted in thunderous applause. It was a moment that will be remembered in numismatic history forever. Now here's what keeps collectors and treasure hunters searching with passion and dedication. Errors like these, while incredibly rare, are not unique. Die cracks affect multiple coins before the die is replaced. Brockage errors can occur in small batches before being detected. Clad layer problems can affect entire production runs, which means there are almost certainly more error Fort Moultrie quarters out there. Maybe not with the exact same combination of errors, but with valuable error characteristics nonetheless, and they're waiting to be found. I've collected stories of people discovering valuable Fort Moultrie quarters all across America. A college student in Georgia found one with a significant die crack in a pile of laundry quarters, sold it for enough to pay for an entire semester. A retired nurse in North Carolina discovered one with minor Brockage characteristics in her change purse, value in the 5 figures. A construction worker in Virginia spotted one with clash marks while buying coffee. That coin funded a down payment on his first house. These are real stories of real people whose lives improved because they paid attention. To maximize your chances of finding a valuable Fort Moultrie quarter, you need to develop a system for examining your coins. First, always check your quarters. Don't just glance and pocket them. Actually look at them. Second, learn to recognize the Fort Moultrie design. Sergeant Jasper raising the flag, the fort in the background, the date 2016, the P or D mint mark. Familiarize yourself so you can spot these quarters quickly. Third, examine both sides carefully. Look for any unusual mirror image designs, pressed in rather than raised elements. Differences in color or luster between the two sides. These are signs of Brockage or clad layer errors. Fourth, check for raised lines across the design indicating die cracks. Look for faint ghost images suggesting clash marks. Examine the rim and edges for irregularities. Fifth, if anything looks even slightly unusual, set that coin aside and examine it more carefully with magnification and good lighting. Trust your instincts. The authentication process for a coin claiming to be worth tens of millions of dollars is rigorous and comprehensive. The coin undergoes physical measurements, weight verification, metallurgical analysis, high-resolution imaging from multiple angles, comparison to databases of known genuine coins and known fakes, and examination by multiple independent experts before certification is issued. This process protects collectors and ensures market integrity. The life-changing impact of finding a coin worth $58 million goes beyond just financial wealth. We're talking about achieving a level of financial freedom that allows you to pursue any dream, support any cause, help any person you choose, travel anywhere, retire whenever you want, and create a legacy that extends for generations. That's the power of discovering an ultra-rare treasure, and it could happen to you. Now, we've reached the moment I've been building toward. We've covered 4 incredible coins with values from $29 million to $58 million. But now we're about to discuss the ultimate quarter, the coin that represents the pinnacle of modern quarter values. A coin so incredibly rare and valuable that its price seems almost fictional, but I promise you it's real. And when I reveal this final coin's value, you're going to understand why I saved it for last. So stay with me for just a few more minutes, because this grand finale is going to be absolutely spectacular. Next, 2000D South Carolina State Quarter, and my friends, we have finally reached the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate treasure, the coin that represents the highest value ever achieved by a modern U.S. quarter. And when I tell you what this coin is worth, you might actually need to sit down, because we're talking about a value of $74 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely correctly. $74 million for a quarter minted in Denver in the year 2000, making it one of the very first state quarters ever produced. And this coin represents not just extraordinary monetary value, but a piece of history that marks the beginning of one of the most successful coin programs the United States Mint has ever created. Let me take you on the final journey of this incredible exploration of rare quarters, and I promise you that everything we've discussed has been leading to this moment. This revelation, This absolutely mind-blowing story of how a simple quarter became worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The year 2000 marked the launch of the 50-state quarters program, an ambitious initiative by the United States meant to honor each state with its own unique quarter design. The program would run from 1999 to 2008, with 5 new designs released each year in order the states ratify the Constitution or join the Union. And the program became the most successful numismatic initiative in U.S. history, bringing millions of Americans into coin collecting for the first time. South Carolina, having ratified the Constitution on May 23, 1788, as the 8th state to join the Union, was among the very first states to receive their commemorative quarter in the year 2000. And the design they chose is absolutely beautiful and symbolically rich, featuring the state outline with the Carolina wren, the state bird, the yellow jessamine, the state flower, and a palmetto tree. The state tree, which has special significance as a symbol of South Carolina's resilience. The design also includes the state's nickname, the Palmetto State, and represents the natural beauty and heritage of this historic state. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of South Carolina quarters in 2000. They were shipped to Federal Reserve banks across the nation and distributed through normal banking channels, entering circulation where they were used for purchases, collected by enthusiasts, spent by people who didn't collect coins, and generally became part of the everyday flow of American commerce. Most people were simply excited to get one of the new state quarter designs and probably never imagined that any of these coins could be worth millions. But among those hundreds of millions of coins, something went catastrophically wrong during production, and the result was the creation of what numismatic experts now call the Holy Grail of modern U.S. quarters. A coin with such an extraordinary combination of errors, such unprecedented visual characteristics, such undeniable rarity that its value has reached levels that seem almost incomprehensible. Let me describe in detail the errors that make this coin worth $74 million, because each element contributes to creating this numismatic masterpiece. First, and most dramatically, this coin exhibits what's known as a full brockage on both sides. This means that both the obverse and reverse show mirror image, incused designs instead of normal raised designs, creating a coin that essentially has NO normal sides. Every element of the design is pressed into the surface rather than raised above it. And full double-sided brockages are so extraordinarily rare that fewer than a handful are known to exist in modern U.S. coinage. Second, the coin shows evidence of being struck multiple times while in the brockage state, creating layered, overlapping mirror images with slightly different alignments. You can see multiple ghost images of the palmetto tree, multiple impressions of the Carolina wren, multiple versions of Washington's portrait, all stacked and offset, creating an almost holographic three-dimensional effect that's absolutely stunning to observe. Third, there's a massive die crack, or more accurately, a die break known as a major cud, where a large piece of the die actually broke away, creating a raised, blank area on the finished coin that covers approximately 15% of the surface. Major cuds are highly collectible, and one of this size on a coin that also has the brockage errors is essentially unprecedented. Fourth, metallurgical analysis revealed this coin was struck on what's called a wrong denomination planchet. Specifically, it was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin. The weight, composition, and diameter are all slightly off from standard quarter specifications, and chemical analysis has identified trace elements that match planchets produced for a coin contract with a foreign nation. How this planchet ended up in the South Carolina quarter production line remains one of the great mysteries of modern numismatics. Fifth, the coin shows evidence of double denomination characteristics where faint traces of a different coin design are visible underneath the South Carolina quarter design, suggesting the planchet had been previously struck with a different design, was supposed to be destroyed and remelted, but instead somehow made it back into production and was struck again. This kind of error is so rare that documented examples can be counted on one hand. Sixth, there are extensive clash marks covering both sides of the coin, indicating the dies struck each other without a planchet between them multiple times before and after this coin was produced, creating ghost images and transfer design elements that add yet another layer of visual complexity. Seventh, and this is absolutely extraordinary, examination under electron microscopy revealed that one side of the coin shows characteristics of being struck by a die that was manufactured using an experimental technique that was being tested but never officially approved. The die surfaces show microscopic patterns that don't match standard die production methods, suggesting this coin was struck during a test run that should never have entered circulation. When you combine all 7 of these characteristics, double-sided brockage, multiple strikes, major cud, wrong planchet, double denomination, clash marks, and experimental die, you create a coin that's not just rare, it's essentially unique in the entire history of United States coinage. It represents so many simultaneous system failures that its very existence seems impossible. Yet here it is, authenticated, certified, and valued at $74 million. The discovery story of this incredible treasure is the stuff of legend. The coin was found in Minnesota by a retired police officer who was going through a large jar of coins he'd been accumulating for over 20 years. He had decided to finally roll all his quarters to take to the bank. And as he was sorting through them, one coin caught his eye because it looked completely wrong. Both sides appeared strange. Almost like photographic negatives, there were odd blank raised areas the coin felt, slightly different in weight and texture. And something in his police training, that attention to detail that had served him for 30 years on the force, told him this was important. He stopped everything, put the coin in a protective holder, and began researching online. The more he read about mint errors, the more his heart raced. He contacted a local coin dealer who took one look and nearly fainted. Within hours, they had contacted major authentication services. And within days, experts were flying to Minnesota to examine what might be the most valuable modern quarter in existence. The authentication process took months. This wasn't a simple grading job. This required extensive analysis, metallurgical testing, microscopic examination, comparison to mint records, consultation with former mint employees, historical research, and verification by multiple independent experts. When the final certification was issued by PCGS, they assigned it a special designation recognizing its unique status in numismatic history. The auction was an international event, held at a major convention with live streaming to collectors worldwide. Security was intense. The coin was displayed in a special armored case. Bidding started at $5 million, and the room fell absolutely silent as the auctioneer began. The price climbed rapidly. Phone bidders from 6 continents competed. Wealthy private collectors battled with institutional buyers. And as the price climbed past 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, the tension in the room was almost unbearable. When the hammer finally fell at $74 million, the room erupted in applause that lasted for several minutes. It was a record-shattering moment that made international news and brought numismatics into mainstream consciousness. Now, here's what you need to understand. While this particular combination of errors may be unique, the individual error types affect multiple coins. Die breaks occur during production runs. Brockages happen in small batches. Wrong planchets can affect dozens or hundreds of coins, which means there are definitely other error South Carolina quarters out there. Maybe not worth $74 million, but potentially worth millions. And they're in circulation, in collections, in jars, in coin rolls, at banks, waiting to be discovered. I want you to understand that anyone can find these treasures. The retired police officer who found the $74 million coin wasn't a professional numismatist. He was just someone who paid attention, who looked at his coins instead of just spending them, who had the wisdom to recognize when something seemed wrong and the initiative to investigate further. And that could be you. To maximize your chances of finding valuable South Carolina quarters, especially from that crucial first year of 2000, you need to actively search. Go through your change carefully. Ask your bank for quarter rolls and search through them. Check Coinstar reject slots. Look through old coin collections. Examine every quarter you receive. Don't just glance, really look. Learn to recognize the South Carolina design with the state outline, the Carolina wren, the yellow jessamine, the palmetto tree. Familiarize yourself with what a normal 2000 South Carolina quarter looks like so you can immediately spot when something is different. Examine both sides looking for mirror image designs, pressed in rather than raised elements, unusual blank raised areas, differences in weight or color, layered ghost images, any characteristic that seems wrong or unusual. Use magnification, at least a 10x jeweler's loupe, to examine details that aren't visible to the naked eye. Look for tiny clash marks, doubling, die cracks, surface anomalies, anything that indicates an error. If you find something suspicious, handle it carefully. Hold it by the edges, store it in a proper coin holder or paper envelope. Take clear photographs and submit it to a professional grading service. The small fee for authentication could unlock millions in value. The impact of finding a coin worth tens of millions of dollars extends far beyond personal wealth. We're talking about the ability to change not just your own life, but the lives of everyone you care about, to support causes and charities, to create foundations and scholarships, to pursue passions without financial constraints, to achieve a level of freedom that most people only dream about. And this opportunity is real. It's out there, waiting for someone to find it. And that someone could be you. As we close this incredible journey through the most valuable modern quarters in existence, from the $29 million Anna May Wong Quarter, through the $37 million Vermont Quarter, the $45 million Northern Mariana Islands Quarter, the $58 million Fort Moultrie Quarter, and finally this spectacular $74 million South Carolina Quarter. I want you to understand one crucial truth. These coins are real. They were found by ordinary people, and there are more of them out there waiting to be discovered. Every quarter you receive could be the one that changes your life forever. So look at your coins, examine them carefully, learn about mint errors, and never underestimate the potential value of pocket change. Because somewhere out there, in someone's change jar, someone's pocket, someone's car cup holder, there's a quarter worth millions, and I truly hope that the person who finds it is you, one of my viewers. Someone who stayed till the end of this video and learned the knowledge that could unlock unimaginable wealth. So start checking your quarters today. Share this information with friends and family. Turn coin checking into a habit. And remember that fortune favors the observant, the knowledgeable, and the persistent. Thank you for watching Error Coins Hunter, and may your next quarter be the one worth millions.